Okay. So first, before I start with the class, I'll just spend 2 minutes regarding the notification which came last night. So firstly, for the notification, what is relevant for CA foundation, you have to see what is relevant for you with CA foundation level. For you at CA foundation level, exam is postponed. Exam is postponed just by a few weeks. Instead of starting in first week of November, it's going to start in third week of November, around November 19th. That is the only important point for you. And second thing, again, they've introduced opt-out scheme. Opt-out scheme is only for those students who are having COVID symptoms or you are located in a containment zone. Located in any containment zone, you can go for the opt-out scheme. So there is no other change for you. So before I start with the syllabus, is there any doubts you guys want to ask regarding notification? I think it's fairly simple, nothing major. Just and the main reason, what is the logic behind postponement of only foundation exams? Why is sir only foundation is postponed? Why not inter or final? Very simple. I'll do a small math for you. Let's say 100 students are joining in CA foundation level. Let's say pass percentage is 40 percentage. 40 percentage, 40 will go to CA inter. Again from here, in CA inter only 10% pass percentage. Out of 40, 4 will go to final. So for every 100 students who are writing for CA foundation, only 4 students are writing CA final. So the strength, when you look at the numbers, CA foundation strength is more than inter and final put together. Therefore, it will become hard to manage crowd in the exam center if all the students are going to come in the same time slot. Therefore, they wanted to push foundation alone to the back end so that it will become easy for social distancing and all of that. That is the only main reason, nothing else. So don't worry about exams again being postponed. There is no way it's going to be postponed. Exam will 100% happen this time. Those who are worried, those who are scared about COVID, they can opt out on their own. So exam will definitely happen this time. So don't think exam will keep getting postponed. No, this time it's going to happen. Okay, so let's start with the agenda for the day. Today we will be discussing Companies Act. All the doubts we'll take in the ending. Don't worry, guys. I'll give Companies Act. Now, let me give you a small background for Companies Act. First, understand, guys, you will be learning in depth about Companies Act throughout your CA, and those who are taking up Company Secretary CS. CS is another course where you excel in Companies Act, and there are so many chartered accountants that take Companies Act as a career itself, expertising in Companies Act. It becomes a career for you. So earlier we had the 1956 Act, Companies Act 1956. Now we have the 2013 Act, Companies Act 2013. We will be discussing only about Companies Act 2013, and we are only going to discuss at CA Foundation very basic concepts, very basic concepts. We will not get in depth with the concepts. It's a very beautiful legislation. I take even CA Inter also. I take law, entire Companies Act and other laws. So it's a very beautiful legislation. One of my favorite acts to teach also. So let's get started. We have a few amendments also, but before that, we'll start with the questions and slowly I'll get to those amendments. So I'm presenting the questions. Just a second, just a doubt. I'll just take the doubt and then we'll discuss. Yeah, Darshita, you can unmute yourself and ask your doubt. Others go through question number 1.
Yes, sir. So I have a doubt in the
Yeah.
previous partnership act.
No. See, partnership act doubts we'll take it in the ending. If there's anything relevant for this, no, we'll take because I don't want to affect the flow. So I'll take
Okay,
up.
so I have a company doubt also.
Yeah. We'll discuss the questions in the ending. I'll give you time for notes. Don't worry about it. We will
So
discuss the
not the
doubt.
question, it's the concept. It's just a small doubt. Can I just ask it?
Yeah. What is the doubt?
So do you have the textbook?
Yes, tell me.
Four. Yes, sir. Page 5.10
Okay.
from below fourth point. So the point is written, such company cannot be incorporated or converted into a company under Section 8 of the Act, though it may be converted to private or public companies in certain cases. So they're talking about the one-person company. Now on page 5.11, they have clearly mentioned that OPC cannot be formed. OPC can be formed only as a private company. So why have they given you a public option?
See, I'll explain this fully. We'll see. You're asking about OPC conversion to private and
Only
public.
private.
Yeah, OPC can be
Yes,
converted
but
only
you
to
have
private,
given.
not to public, because 1% company is a type of private company. It is not a public company.
Yeah, but since they have given that the option, so I got confused and therefore I asked you.
No, no, no. You can convert from OPC to private and later again from private to public. That's all.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
So we'll start with the questions, guys, quickly. So please go through the first question. I gave you time for going through the first question. Mr. Yu stayed in India for 182 days in the previous calendar year 1920. During the current year, he wants to start an OPC, 1% company. Can he do so? Answer, guys. I'll keep the chart actually open for everybody now. So now your chart will be seen to everyone so that you can be a little bit competitive also. So you can type your options, guys. Mr. Yu stayed in India for 182 days in the previous calendar year 1920. During the current year, he wants to start an OPC. Can he do so? So I'm getting answers. Now you guys can look at the other answers also just to make the class competitive and see how others are participating. So all of you got the answer wrong. Only Anu got the correct answer. If you read the provisions of 1% company, it says you stayed in India for 182 days in the previous calendar year is what is mentioned. We require it has to be 182 days in the 182 days or more in the previous financial year. So now if you look at this 1920 calendar year starts in Jan 19, ends in December 19. Just the date mistake, 1920 Jan 19 to December 19. Now from this period to this period, he has stayed for how many days? 180 days or more. Let's assume more than 180 days. Now, the concept is we have to check for financial year from April 19 to March 20. He has to stay for 182 days. So the timeline what they have given here is this point to this point, but where he has to stay is from here to here. So we are not sure if in the second timeline, if he is staying for more than 182 days, therefore you have to give a proper clarification saying, can he do so? We have to check for financial year and not for calendar year. Understood, guys? Issue, you can type your doubt or I'll just unmute. Yes, Issue, what's your doubt? I don't think she's there. Just 1 second. Next. Please go through question number 2. Please go through question number 2. So second question, Mr. Anil formed a 1% company on 16th April 2018 for manufacturing electric cars. The turnover of 1% company during the financial year ended 31st March 2019 was 2.25 crores. His friend Sunil wanted to invest in the 1% company, so they decided to voluntarily convert into a private company. Can they do it? Yes, he can do it. See, now to convert from one person company to a private company, the first rule is company should be in operation at least for a period of 2 years. At least for a period of 2 years. Unless, see, first to convert from one person company to private company, it should be at least for 2 years. But however, within the 2 years, if the paid up share capital crosses 50 lakhs or the average annual turnover exceeds rupees 2 crores, then they can convert to a private limited company. Therefore, they can convert. They can convert to a private limited company. Next. So all of you got the second question also correct. Please go through question. So question number 3 is fairly simple, guys. Explain clearly the doctrine of indoor management as applicable in the case of companies registered under the Companies Act 2013. Explain the circumstances in which outsider dealing with the company cannot claim any relief on the ground of indoor management. Second part is basically talking about exceptions to indoor management. There are 3 exceptions I discussed in the video also: forgery, actual knowledge, and suspicion of knowledge. Straightforward theory question, you can copy paste. Question number 4, explain the incorporation process of a company. I explained in detail in the video what are the steps for incorporation. You can write all of that. Next, please go through question number 5 and 6. So let's discuss this question. So first part, can I have someone to read the question? Let me have Gaurav. I'm unmuting you. Just see if you can read.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Naveen incorporated a one-person company, making his sister Navita as the nominee. Navita is leaving India permanently due to her marriage abroad. Due to this fact, she is withdrawing her consent of nomination in the said one-person company. Taking into consideration the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, answer the questions below. A. If Navita is leaving India permanently, is it mandatory for her to withdraw her nomination in the said one-person company? B. If Navita maintained the status of resident of India after her marriage, then can she continue her nomination in the said one-person company?
Answer,
Given the
guys.
sixth one.
Yeah, so answer for question number 5 is fairly simple. Most of you got the answer correct. See, first one, to be a nominee, as the nominee, Navita is leaving India permanently due to a marriage abroad. Due to this fact, she is withdrawing her consent of nomination in the one-person company. Taking into consideration of the provisions act, answer the below questions. If Navita is leaving India permanently, is it mandatory for her to withdraw her nomination of the one-person company? Yes, she has to withdraw her nomination from the one-person company. Second, if Navita maintains the resident of one-person company after her marriage, then can she continue the nomination for the said one-person company? Yes, she can continue the nomination for the said one-person company if she is staying for a period of more than 182 days during the immediately preceding financial year. Next, any doubts in this question, guys? So Harshal got the correct answer. So Darshita correct, Kriti correct, correct. Okay, correct guys. Next, question number 6. Gaurav, I'll unmute you again. You read the question number 6. I'll take all your doubts, guys. See, I'll take all your doubts, all the concepts you need. See, what I'm planning to do is I will discuss all the questions, then all your doubts and concepts in detail explain. So don't worry about that. First, let us finish the questions. Yes, Gaurav, go ahead.
Some of the creditors of Pharmaceutical Appliances Limited have complained that the company was formed by the promoters only to defraud the creditors and circumvent the compliance of legal provisions of the Companies Act 2013. In this context, they seek your advice as to the meaning of corporate veil and when the promoters can be made personally liable for the debts of the company.
Yeah, so this concept is important. So I'm presenting the whiteboard for you guys. Fairly important concept. Let's say, for example, tomorrow, let's say Gaurav is starting a company, Gaurav Limited. Gaurav is starting a company, Gaurav Limited. He has gone to ICICI Bank and he has taken 10 lakhs loan. He has taken 10 lakhs loan. Now he started this company only to take this money for himself. So he has taken a loan of 10 lakhs. Now what he is doing, company is in operation for the next 1 to 2 years. He formed this company only with the intention to take away this money for himself. What he did after taking the loan, what is the entry you pass for loan? Bank account debit to bank loan. The entry you pass is bank account debit to bank loan, correct? So there is a bank loan over here and there will be bank account debit over here. Then what Gaurav started doing every year, in the profit and loss account, in the P&L account, he started booking fictitious expenses. Fake expenses. Expenses were actually not there. He started booking fake expenses. He kept showing loss every year. For 2 years, he showed a heavy loss. Therefore, what will happen? The bank balance, which was 10 lakhs when he took the loan in initial time, 10 lakhs kept decreasing. It became zero now. It became zero. But all these fictitious expenses were actually not expenses. He booked the expenses and transferred the money into his account. Now, after 2 years, he is declaring the company as he is winding up the company, saying company is insolvent. The assets are zero, liabilities. I mean, assets are having book value, but there is no money to pay liabilities. He is telling the bank, ICICI Bank, I am sorry, I cannot pay the 10 lakhs loan to you. What ICICI Bank will do? They will sue the company. Company is a separate legal entity. If company is not able to pay the money, they cannot ask Gaurav. But now in this case, what is happening? If you see in this case, Gaurav is using the benefit, the provision available in the Companies Act for his advantage with the intention to defraud the creditors. So now if you see this question over here, some of the creditors of Pharmaceutical Appliances Limited have complained that the company was formed by the promoters only to defraud the creditors and circumvent the complaints of the legal provisions of Companies Act 2013. In this context, they seek your help for lifting the corporate veil. So understand guys, Companies Act is drafted for genuine business reasons. Using the concept of separate legal entity, if somebody is trying to take advantage and make some personal profits, what the act is saying is the corporate veil of the company, which separates the members and the company, if it is will be lifted, and it will say both companies and members are one and the same. In this case, if company is not having money, members will be personally liable. Therefore, yes, in this case, corporate veil can be lifted. If this question comes in exam, you have to write all the other cases where corporate veil can be lifted. What are the different cases to protect revenue? 4 5 points we discussed in the video also, that you have to explain. Any doubts, guys, in question number 6? Any doubts? Okay, let's proceed to the next question. So I have people raising their hands. Okay, I don't find. Okay, next. Can I have Kriti to read the next question? Kriti, I'm unmuting you. Can you read the next question for us? Kriti or Harshal, I'll unmute them.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Can you read question number 7 for me?
Yes, sir. FNSSC was a wealthy man earning huge income by way of dividend and interest. He formed three private companies and agreed with each to hold a block of investment as an agent for them. The dividend and the interest income received by the company was handed back to F as a pretended loan. This way, F divided his income into three parts in a bid to reduce his tax liability. Decide for what purpose the three companies were established, whether the legal personality of all three companies may be disregarded.
Okay. Take a minute time, guys. Go through the question. So let's see, guys. Now, this again is a famous case law. The case law is Dinshok Manak Patakji. That is the case law. This case law is just given as a question. I'll again explain what this case law actually is. Fairly simple case law. So there was a person. What the person did was, so what this person did, let's call him X. He was receiving heavy money, huge money, and if he had to pay tax on this entire money, there will be so much of tax. So he incorporated four companies. Let's call them company 1, company 2, company 3, and company 4. All the money he received, he diverted to these companies. And from this company, he again took back from the company. Now, when you're diverting to the company, you should again take back the money. So what he did, he took the money back in the form of loan and dividend from the company. So what, see, follow carefully, guys, what he did. He was receiving the money, he diverted to the companies. Then he took the money back in the form of loan and dividend. As per Income Tax Act, dividend is not taxable in the hands of individual, and loan, when you take a loan, you will not pay tax on loan. Therefore, he avoided tax, he avoided legal obligation. By avoiding legal obligation, he created these four companies. These companies did not have any business. They were just companies for this namesake. They were just companies for namesake. And hence, again, corporate will be lifted in this case. Corporate will be lifted, and they are going to say, the concept here is corporate wheel can be lifted to protect
Dividend.
revenue or tax. To protect revenue or tax. This is what is important. This is about question number 7. So I think everybody got the correct answer. Any doubts in this question before I proceed to next question?
Okay.
Okay, let's proceed to next question. Can I have let's say who's not read so far? Pratham Jain, can you read the question for us? Yes, Anu has a doubt. Should we explain about corporate wheel and its lifting? Yes, you have to explain about corporate wheel and its lifting. Reason for lifting is to protect revenue or tax. Protect revenue or tax. Yeah. Pratham, I'm unmuting you. Can you unmute and read the question for us? Okay, disturbance near him. Bhargavi, can you read the question? I'll unmute you. Yeah, I'm unmuting you, Bhargavi. Just click on yeah. Read the question number 8 for us.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good.
Flora Fauna Limited was registered as a public company. There are 230 members in the company as noted below. A. Directors and their relatives. Number is 190. B. Employees, 15 numbers. C. Ex-employees. Shares were allotted when they were employees, 10. D. 5 couples holding shares jointly in the name of husband and wife. 5 into 2 is 10 numbers. E. Others is 5 numbers. The board of directors of the company proposed to convert it into a private company. Also advise whether reduction in the number of members is necessary.
Yeah, take a minute time, go through it. Take a minute time, guys. Give me the answer. Yeah, so let me check the answers. Answer of Darshita is correct. Soumya is correct. Yeah. So now simple concept, guys. This is a already Flora Fauna is a public company. They have totally 230 members in the company as below. They're given breakup of if you add 190 plus 15, 10, 10, 5, you will get 230. Now they're saying board proposes to convert into a private company. Also advise whether reduction in the number of members is necessary. Now to count the number of 200, what to include and what not to include. Can I include 190 directors and their relatives? Yes. Can I include employees of the company? Can I include employees, guys? Current employees will not be taken into consideration. Ex-employees also, when they were allotted shares, when they were employees in the previous period, that will also not be included when you compute 200. 5 couples holding shares jointly in the name of husband and wife. So 5 couples into 2, totally there are 10 people, but they are joint holders, so it will be counted as 1. Couple will be counted as 1. So we will count this only as 5. Others are 5. So the total will be 190 plus 5 joint couple plus 5. Total is 200. Since the limit is within 200, they need not reduce the number of members. They can directly convert from public to private. How to convert, sir? Now you might get it out. How to convert? Not part of your syllabus. There is a procedure for conversion of OPC to private company to public company. All conversions is there in your inter syllabus, not part of your foundation syllabus. So you need not worry about that. Next. Any doubts in this question, guys? 8th question before I proceed. Okay. Can you read question number 9, guys? Interesting question and important question for exam also. Question number 9. Please go through question number 9. Here they're testing the concept of holding and subsidiary company. So let me ask someone to read this. Riddhi, can you read the question for us? Yes, Kriti, there is no need to reduction in number of numbers. It is already within the limit of 200, correctly 200, therefore it is fine. Riddhi, I'm unmuting you. Can you read the question number 9? Riddhi, are you there? Okay, Soumya, I'm unmuting you. Can you read the question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, read question number 9.
Okay, sir. The paid up share capital of SAB Private Limited is 1 crore, consisting of 8 lakh equity shares of 10 each, fully paid up, and 2 lakh cumulative preference shares of rupees 10 each, fully paid up. JNV Private Limited and Sara Private Limited are holding 3 lakh equity shares and 50,000 equity shares respectively in SAB Private Limited. JVN Private Limited and Sara Private Limited are subscribers of PQR Private Limited. With reference to the provisions of Companies Act 2013, examine whether SAB Private Limited is a subsidiary of PQR Private Limited. Would your answer be different if PQR Private Limited has 8 out of 9 directors on the board of SAB Private Limited?
Yeah, so take a minute time, guys. Please go through the question. Try to go through the question. Try to understand. I'll solve this sum in the whiteboard. Don't worry. Interesting question and important also for exam. Take a minute time, guys. Give me your answers. So I'm getting answers from you guys. Let me solve this. I'll solve this properly. So before that, guys, see, normal again, I just want to clarify. Normally, Companies Act, all these concepts, I'll take it for 3 to 4 hours in depth. To put it simply, the very first concept, features of a company itself at CA Inter and Foundation level will go for minimum 1 to 2 hours. Since we are in crash course and all of you already know the concepts, I don't want to waste time there. If there's any concept, this doctrine or any particular concept you have a doubt, I'll explain in detail. So now let us come back to this question. The paid up share capital of SAB Private Limited is 1 crore. So let's see, SAB Private Limited, paid up share capital of SAB Private Limited is 1 crore, consisting of 8 lakh equity shares of 10 each, fully paid up, and 2 lakh cumulative preference shares of 10 each. So it has breakup of 8 lakh equity shares plus 2 lakh preference shares. So 8 lakh equity shares and 2 lakhs are preference shares. Let us go by one line, one by line, one line. Next, everything is fully paid up. They're given the first question. Next, JVN Private Limited and Sara Private Limited are holding 3 lakh equity shares and 50 lakh equity shares respectively in SAB Private Limited. So what are the two companies again? Let us draw JVN Private Limited, JVN Private Limited and Sara Private Limited are holding 3 lakh equity shares and 50,000 equity shares in which company? They're holding it in SAB Private Limited. Now, first question that will come is, for computing or for considering your holding and subsidiary relationship, for considering the holding and subsidiary relationship, should I consider only equity share capital or also preference share capital? Can I get the answer, guys, first? Now, for this company, they have 8 lakhs equity shares and 2 lakhs preference shares. Totally 10 lakh shares they have. So should I consider only equity or equity plus preference or only preference? Can you guys type the answer? So Ranjani is saying only equity shares. Darshita, no idea. Others, I want you guys to participate. Yeah. So now the amendment, and there's an amendment in this 2018 amendment. It was already there last year also. Those who wrote November 19 foundation also, the same concept. They are saying holding and subsidiary relationship. They are saying you should have more than half of the words they use. The words they use is voting power. The words used in the act is voting power. Now, who has the power to vote? Only equity shareholders have the power to vote. Preference shareholders don't have the power to vote unless their decision is going to affect their rights. Therefore, what will happen, since it is voting power, only equity shares will be considered and preference shares will not be considered. So let us see what happens. First case, out of total 8 lakh shares. So voting power, I will not take base as 10 lakhs. I will take only 8 lakhs. For which company? SAB Private Limited. JVN and Sara together have 3 lakh plus 50,000. They have 3 lakh 50,000 divided by 8 lakh comes to how much percentage, guys? Can somebody give me the percentage? It is, okay, need not get exact number. It is less than 50%. It is less than 50%. That is the first point. Now let us proceed with the question. Let us proceed with the question. Second part of the question says, JVN Private Limited and Sara Private Limited are subsidiaries of PQR Private Limited. So there is another company called PQR Private Limited. JVN and Sara Private Limited are subsidiaries of this company PQR Private Limited. So if you want me to draw in reverse order, let me draw it again. If you want me to draw in reverse order, I'll draw it in different side. So PQR is the main holding company. PQR has two subsidiary companies, JVN and Sara Limited, Private Limited. These two companies are having shares in SAB Private Limited. I hope you understood diagrammatically how it works. So this is the holding company for JVN and Sara. JVN has 3 lakh shares in SAB and Sara has only 50,000 shares in SAB Private Limited. Now, the question they're asking is, so they're asking JVN Private Limited and Sara Private Limited are subsidiaries of PQR Private Limited. With reference to the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, examine whether, they're asking examine whether SAB Private Limited. What is SAB Private Limited? This company, SAB here, and this one, SAB. SAB Private Limited is a subsidiary of PQR. They're asking whether it's a subsidiary of PQR Private Limited company or not. That is the first part of the question. Answer, guys. Can you give me now? Answer yes or no. So we learned the concept, a basic concept. A, if A is holding of B, and if B is holding of C, automatically A becomes holding of C. Here, SAB is the holding of JVN and Sara, but JVN and Sara is not the holding of C Limited. Therefore, in case 1, SAB will not be holding of PQR Private Limited. Now they're asking second part of the question. All of you got the correct answer. Second part of the question, what would your answer be? Would your answer be different if PQR Private Limited has 8 out of 9 directors, has only 8 out of 9 directors on the board of SAB Private Limited? So read the question again, guys. If, what would your answer be if PQR Private Limited has 8 out of 9 directors on SAB Private Limited? Now, PQR Limited directly has, out of SAB Private Limited, out of the total 9 directors, 8 are directors of PQR Limited are appointed these directors. They are directors of PQR. Now tell me in second case. In the second case, will PQR be holding of SAB? Yes or no, guys? It will be holding, because definition of holding in subsidiary. What is the definition of holding in subsidiary? One definition is more than half of voting power. Second definition is has the control, like has the ability to control the composition of board of directors of the other company. Out of 9, if you have 8 directors of your thing, you are able to control the composition of board of directors. Therefore, in second case, PQR will become the holding of SAB Private Limited. Have you all understood the entire question, guys? Have you all understood? Anybody has a doubt? So I'll unmute Darshita. She has a doubt. Other than her, if anybody has a doubt, just let me know. Yes, Darshita, what's a doubt?
Yes, sir. So can you please explain ABC diagram again? The one which you said that if A is the holding company of B and B is the holding company
Okay,
of
I'll
C,
explain it. I'll
then
explain
A
that.
automatically becomes the holding company of C.
Yeah, I'll explain that. And one more student also has doubt. I'll take both the doubts and explain both together. Just a second. I think Anu had a doubt.
Yes, sir.
Anu, yes, go ahead. I unmuted you. Anu, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can ask your doubt.
Sir, I want you to explain both the points, sir. I
Which
can't
one?
understand it.
Entire question.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Both the
One and two
diagrams.
questions, sir.
PQR diagram also.
Which one?
PQR diagram, the one on your right hand side.
Yeah, I'll explain. One second. So first, let me explain the concept of holding and subsidiary. See, a company becomes holding of another company if one of the three conditions are satisfied. First case, let's say A has more than half of the voting power, half of voting power of B. This is case number one. Voting power here refers to equity share capital. So if A is having more than 50% of equity share capital of B, A becomes holding of B. Second case, if A is controlling, if A is able to control the composition of board of directors, composition of board of directors of B. What do you mean by controlling the composition of board of directors? A Limited, A is having the power to appoint new directors in B or remove directors from B. They have the power to control the directors in B. Then A becomes the holding of B. What is the logic behind this? Who runs a company? Now, who takes decisions for a company? Directors take decisions of a company. Now, if I am able to control the directors, then I become the holding company. This is the logic behind this concept. Third case, what they are saying is, let's say A is the holding of B. Let's say A is the holding of B because A is having 70% share capital in B. B is the holding of, let's say B is the holding of C because B is having 65% share capital in C. Now, understand the logic, guys. A in C, directly A in C has 0% share capital, Now they're asking if A is the holding company of C. For this, what you have to see, A can control B. A can control B because they have more than half share capital, and B can control C. However, A cannot control C directly. But A can control C through B. A can control C through whom? Through B. Therefore, A will become the holding of C. These are the three definitions for holding subsidiary company. Have you understood this concept first, all of you? You guys can type. Have you understood this concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To give you another simpler example. See, to give you another simpler example, let's say there's grandfather, father, and son. It's simple like this. Let's say grandfather can control the father and father can control the son. Now, let's say the son is not listening to the grandfather, but grandfather is able to control the father and father is able to control the son. Grandfather is directly not able to control the son. Whatever grandfather is saying, son is not listening. But grandfather can control the father. So grandfather is instructing the father to give some instruction to son. So son is going to follow that. Then automatically what happens? Grandfather can control the son. Indirect control. That is what is given in third case. Even though A is not having a direct control over C, indirectly through B, they are able to control C. So any of these three conditions are satisfied, then the company becomes holding of the other company. This is the core concept. Now in this question, if you see, in first case, SAB Private Limited is there. in SAB Private Limited, we have JVN and Sara. JVN and Sara. JVN and Sara. SAB totally has 8 lakh shares. JVN has 3.50 lakh shares, 3 lakh shares. And Sara has 50,000 shares. They're asking whether
If these shares are in SAB.
Hello? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yes, sir. So is this 3,50,000 shares invested in SAB Limited company?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So now next one, PQR Private Limited. Like saying PQR Private Limited is the holding of JVN and Sara. Is already holding of JVN and Sara, which they are already mentioning. Now, first question they're asking is PQR. First question they're asking is PQR holding of SAB. Is PQR the holding of SAB? Answer is now. PQR is not having direct control in SAB. Like A is not having direct control in SAB. So answer is no. Let us also check if they're having indirect control through JVN and Sara. Through JVN and Sara, let's check if they have indirect control. Because instead of 50,000, if this was 2 lakhs, just assume guys, instead of 50,000, if this was 2 lakhs, then what will happen? Out of 8 lakh shares in SAB, 5 lakh shares will be controlled by whom? JVN and Sara. Who controls JVN and Sara? PQR controls JVN and Sara, which is obviously more than 50%. Then obviously, automatically, PQR will become holding of SAB. But in this case, in the question, they only given 50,000. Therefore, it is only 3.5 lakhs, 3,50,000 out of 8 lakhs, which is less than 50%. Therefore, PQR is not the holding of SAB. This is the answer for case 1. Case 2, what they are saying, in case 2, what they are saying, PQR has, out of the 9 directors in SAB, 8 directors are appointed by PQR itself. Out of 9 directors in SAB, 8 are appointed by PQR. Therefore, PQR directly has control of composition of board of directors of SAB. Therefore, PQR becomes the holding of SAB. Understood both the cases, guys? Yeah, I think there's no doubts here.
Sorry. So, sir, in second case, PQR is the holding company of SAB.
Yes, in second case.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's proceed to the next question, guys. I hope you understood this question. This question is from CA Inter, guys. I've taken it from CA Inter syllabus. So see, now I'll tell you all these questions. I'm not joking. All these questions which we are discussing have been tested in CA Inter already. And CA Foundation, they are slowly starting to test. All these are CA Inter questions, but they're already starting to test in CA Foundation one by one. Next, let's proceed to next question. Question number 10, fairly simple question. Go through question number 10 and question number 11. Please go through question number 10 and 11. Answer, guys. Please type your answers. Now, very important, guys, for your exam, especially for your exam, please learn small company limits. Please learn small company limits. Small company limits are important because there has been an amendment. So those who wrote November 19 exam, previous attempt, limits of small company were different then, guys. Very, very important. For November 20 exams, small company limits have changed. It has changed. Very, very important. What are the limits for small company now? Paid up share capital should not exceed 50 lakhs. However, such amount can be extended up to rupees 10 crores, and the turnover, it should not exceed 2 crores. But it can extend up to 100 crores. These are the new limits, guys. Very, very important for your exam. Amendment for your November 20 exam. So please make note of it. Paid up share capital should not exceed 50 lakhs. But in the future, government can extend this up to 10 crores. So for exam, what you should check, you should only compute this amount. But you should also write this 50 lakhs can become 10 crores in the future. Similarly, turnover should be maximum 2 crores. This is the current value. But in the future, this can be extended up to 100 crores. Therefore, organization having a turnover of 5 crores and paid up share capital of 10 lakhs wants to incorporate a small company. Can they incorporate? Answer, guys. Now, the Condition Act is saying to be a small company, paid up share capital should be less than 50 lakhs. Paid up share capital should be less than 50 lakhs. And the condition they use is and turnover should be less than 2 crores. Both the conditions should be satisfied. Here, if you see, paid up share capital is less than 50 lakhs. It satisfies the condition. But turnover is 5 crores, which is more than 2 crores. Therefore, company cannot incorporate a small company. Here, organization cannot incorporate a small company. Have you understood? The word is not or, guys, it is and. So Darshita's answer is correct. Other answers, you have given the limits correctly. Ishu, no. Correct answer, not correct answer. No. Harshal, no. Wrong answer. Others, have you understood the logic, guys? Any doubts in this question? Very important for your exam, guys. It's an amendment. So please make note of it. Any doubts in this question? Can I proceed to next one? Also, three more important points in small company, guys. Very, very important 3 points. This was already there. This is not amendment, but just you should know about this. Small company, a small company cannot be a holding or subsidiary of another company. Small company cannot be holding or subsidiary of another company. Small company also cannot be a Section 8 company. And small company cannot be a body corporate governed by a special act. All these three is not allowed for a small company. It is there in the book also, and it is important for your exam. Next, question number 11. Please go through question number 11. So all of you are giving me answers. Darshita, first case correct answer. Anu, first case correct answer. Others. So let follow, guys. See, X Limited, there's a company called Y Limited. In this, X Limited is holding 10% share in Y Limited. Central government is holding 15% share in Y Limited. And Tamil Nadu government is holding 17% share in the company. And Bihar government is holding, are you guys able to hear me? Bihar government is holding 10% share in Y Limited and the balance is held by the public. They're asking in first case, is Y Limited a government company? You have to go read definition of government company. Government company is a company in which not less than 51% of the share capital should be held either by central government or state government or a combination of both. Here let us count. Central government is having 15%, Tamil Nadu government has 17%, and Bihar government has 10%. If you add all the three, it comes to 37 plus 5, 42 percentage only. How much we need? 51 percentage. Therefore, case 1, no, Y Limited is not a government company. Second, what will be your answer if X Limited is a government company? They're asking, what will be your answer if X Limited is a government company? If X Limited is a government company, what will be your answer? Answer, guys. Can you give me answer for second case? Even in second case, answer will be no. Answer will be no, because to be a government company, central government or state government or combination should have more than 50%, 51%. Now I'll give you third part of the question. What if X Limited is holding 60% shares in Y Limited, and X Limited is also a government company? X Limited is also a government company. Then what will be your answer, guys? In third case, assume X Limited, instead of holding 10%, has 60% shares in Y Limited, and X Limited is also a government company. Then will Y Limited become government company? Answer is yes, because there is a provision which says a company which is a subsidiary of a government company, which is a subsidiary of a government company, will also become a government company. So X Limited is a government company. Subsidiary of X Limited, which is Y Limited, will also become a government company. Have you guys understood question number 11 before I proceed? Okay, so let us proceed, guys. Now leave question number 12. I'll come back to this in ending. There's a small issue over here which I have to clarify. Come to question number 13. Can you all read question number 13? Can I have someone to read question number 13? Just a second. Sunil, are you there in the class? Someone who's not read. Sunil, I'm unmuting you. Can you read question number 13 for us? Sunil, are you there in the class? Okay, looks like Sunil is not responding. Sriranjini, I'm unmuting you. Can you read question number 13?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. H has incorporated a Section 8 company for the purpose of providing food to the poor. In 2021, he received donation of 20 crores from.
Hello, we lost you. I think the net issue. Okay, I'll read it. He received a donation of 20 crores from PM CARES Fund for his good work. He has around 10,000 volunteers working with him in his company to reward the employees who are also the shareholders of the company. He decided to declare dividend of rupees 2 per share. One of the employees raised an objection saying that he wanted dividend of rupees 10 per share. Advice being the consultant on the company. Can I get the answer, guys? All of you are the consultants. Can I get the answer for this? So Ronak has given an answer. I want other answers also. Then I'll tell you which is the correct answer. So Ronak, Anu, Kriti, and Soumya, and Darshita, all your answers are correct. Section 8 company cannot declare dividend. Clear, guys? Understood? Okay, now let me explain one last concept. I'll present the screen for you. So now if you see, there was a confusion in the first question whether you have to consider 182 days for financial year or calendar year. Now if you see the confusion for ICAI itself, this is the ICAI's. I'm presenting ICAI's CA inter syllabus, guys. CA inter study material. In CA intermediate study material, if you see the wordings they used, for the purpose of this rule, the term resident in India means a person who stayed in India for a period of not less than 182 days during the immediately preceding financial year is what they mentioned in inter book. But if you read your CA foundation book, page number 5.10, if you have a book with you, just take page number 5.10. There they would have mentioned the word calendar year. Now, which one should you follow for the exam? Very simple. You have to follow what is there in your book only. The correct answer can be financial year or calendar year. That you have to see Bar Act, but you follow what is there in your book. because that is what everybody is studying. Therefore, we will go with calendar year itself. Since foundation book has calendar year, we will go with calendar year. But logically, as far as I am concerned and how I teach, I take it as financial year, but they will not ask that in-depth questions. See, as far as I know, it is a financial year. As far as I know, it is financial year. Even in CA Interbook, also latest study mat, it's mentioned as financial year. But in your CA foundation textbook alone, it's still there as calendar year. But I don't know if it's changed. If anybody has the latest foundation textbook, I'll check in the website of ICA itself. Just give me a moment. Let me see what's there in the latest book. Because it's important to learn the correct concept. Just a moment, guys. I'm just opening CA foundation book. See, as far as I am concerned, it is financial year, and I've taught financial year for all my students only. So let me just cross check that again. Yeah, so I'll cross check that, guys. I'll show you now. I'll show you it is financial year only, guys. Your book is wrong, so please don't follow your book. I'll present the screen for you. Just a second. Since many of them had doubt, so if you see here, this material is there in ICA website. It is an amendment. If you see the amendment, which says meaning of resident director as per Companies Incorporation Third Amendment Rules 27th July 2018. For the purpose of this rule, the term resident in India means a person who has stayed in India for a period of not less than 182 days during the immediately preceding financial year. So in exam, please go with financial year, not calendar year. I hope this is sorted. Most of you already knew it's calendar year, but for benefit of those who had a doubt, I just wanted to clarify. Good. Good. Yes. So this is the amendment. I showed you the amendment also. Okay. Yeah, all of you saying financial. Correct. Okay, guys. So in exam also, please follow only financial year. And it is again an amendment they might ask in your exam. Now let us discuss question number 12. Mr. Z, interesting question, guys. I want the answer from you guys. Who gets the correct question, correct answer? Let's see. Mr. Z stayed in India. I hope I'm presenting the PDF. Mr. Z stayed in India for 300 days in the previous calendar year 1920. He wants to start an OPC. Can he incorporate an OPC? Answer, guys. Harshal says no. Gaurav says yes. Kriti says no. Darshita says yes. So 2 no, 3 yes. Riddhi says yes. Anu says yes. Others. Come on, guys. They mentioned calendar year. How can you guys say yes? Come on, think. So again, no. Soumya, no. Bhargavi, no. So it's almost like 40% no, 60% yes. See, I know the answer. I just want you guys to think. Yeah, good. So Anu has got the logic. So all of you who said no, this is how your exam questions might be. The correct answer is yes. They can incorporate the one-person company. I'll explain now, guys. I'll explain. Interesting question. You need to be a little bit more conceptually important over here. See, this question is something I drafted. So it might come in exam, might not come, but you need to be ready for this. Now, if you look at this carefully, they are saying 300 days in the previous calendar year. So let me draw the calendar year for you. Jan 19 to December 19. Sorry, there's some drawing issues. I'll just go to the other board. 1 second. So if you see Jan 19 to December 19, the person has stayed for 300 days. 300 days. So let's see what happens. We have to compute financial year, correct? Financial year is April 19 to March 19, correct? financial year is April 19 to March 20. April 19 to March 20. Now, in the entire calendar year, let me assume Jan, Feb, and March, first 3 months, let me assume he stayed in India. So let me eliminate Jan, let me eliminate Feb, let me eliminate March. 300 minus 90 days, still he has 210 days. So from 1st April onwards, he is staying in the India for 210 days, which is more than 182 days. Therefore, automatically it is more than 182 days in the calendar year. Therefore, he can incorporate the 1% company. Have you guys understood? It's approximately 210 days. 200 should be exact amount. So others have understood. Like those who said no, Soumya and Sri Ranjini and Bhargavi. Have you guys understood now? I hope you guys have understood. Yeah, good. Okay. So again, let me come back to the handout. Just a minute. Yeah. Don't take it as, sorry, I just typed it as Jan calendar 1920. Assume it is Jan 19 to December 19. I should just change the question. It's Jan 19 to December 19. Calendar, basically I should have typed calendar year 2019. Clear, guys? Any doubts still here before I proceed? So what I have done, I have taken past exam questions and I have taken questions from Inter and I have taken some questions which I have drafted on my own. So Bhargavi has a doubt. Then previous question he has stayed 182 days, but you said he cannot incorporate. Exactly. Let me explain that, Bhargavi. He cannot incorporate. Why? Because if you take in this question, see, if you take in this question, from Jan to December, from Jan to December, he is staying for 182 days. Now, we do not know if this 182 days is from April to December or from Jan to December. Even if he stayed for 2 days in the first 3 months, then from April onwards it becomes 180 days. Therefore, he cannot incorporate the OPC. Therefore, we do not know how many days he stayed in Jan, Feb, March, April. So even if you take 2 days in the first 3 months, it is less than 180. So therefore, he cannot incorporate a 1% company. I hope you understood that. Okay. So now I'll anyway unmute all of you. You can talk. I think no last important things which I wanted to discuss is, if you see in Companies Act, I wanted to discuss amendments in important areas. Definition of small company is important because there's an amendment. So please ensure you learn that for exam. Definition of associate company is also important. They have changed the definition where they use the word, the key word is where a company controls the business decisions. They included a new word called business decisions. So they might test something using this word, business decisions. So be careful about this also. Definition of associate company, please go through that. Again, it's an amendment which you have to go through. Definition of government company is also important. There's a small change in definition here. They again use the word voting power. They use the word voting power. That is also important. So go through definition of government company. Concepts of, again, leave the definition, other concepts in small company. It cannot be subsidiary of other company, all of that. And 1% company and section 8 company. Please go through these concepts also. They are important for this chapter. And again, doctrines, doctrine of ultra vires, lifting of corporate wheel, indoor management, construct notice also are important. Topics like share capital, types of shares, preference, equity, all that is C category for this thing. These 5 are important for your exam. I just mainly noted these because they are amendments. And doctrine of indoor management and constructive notice, examiner's favorite question. He'll keep asking every attempt. So that is also something you have to be clear with. Now, last question, I will put a case law and I'll ask the question. I want you guys to answer. Last question for Companies Act. Then we will keep the session open for doubts. Okay, I'll give you the question actually. I'll explain the question in the whiteboard. You guys can answer. It is actually a case law, very old famous case law. I want you guys to give the answer. See, public financial institution, foreign company also are concepts, but you need to be aware of them. But I'm just telling you what is important in my viewpoint, because these are all amendments. No, I'll give you a small example, guys. Now, next one. It's actually an exam question. I want answer from you guys. There is a company ABC Limited. There is a company ABC Limited where the company has given loan to Mr. D. Loan to Mr. D. The articles of association of the company says, to give loan, any director of the company has to sign and approve to give loan. What happens? D also knows about this, that articles has to approve. D requested the company for loan. He received loan of rupees 2 lakhs from ABC Limited. However, what happened? D has a friend in ABC Limited. One of the employees of ABC Limited, let us call him Mr. X, is an employee of ABC Limited who is friends with D. What X did, the director's signature, he forged the signature. He did forgery of the signature. And using that forgery signature, ABC Limited gave loan to D. ABC Limited gave loan to D. Now, is this loan valid or not valid? Is the question. Answer, guys. This is first part of the question. Loan is not valid because this is exception to doctrine of indoor management. In case of forgery, loan will not be valid. Let me go to second part of the question. Second part of the question, guys. Now, articles of association of the company says company should get approval. This is second part of the question, guys. Forget the first part. Only follow what is given in blue. Now, articles of association of the company says three directors of the company, any three directors of the total directors have to sign the approval. They have to give approval for the loan. This is mentioned in the articles of association, and D also knows about this. Doctrine of constructive notice. D also knows about this, that three directors have to sign and give the loan. But what happens? Instead of three directors signing, because of some issue in the company, internal management issue, only two directors signed and gave the loan to D. Only two directors signed and gave the loan of 2 lakhs to D. D received the loan. Now is the loan valid? Company is saying, no, loan is not valid. Three should sign, but only two sign. Is the loan valid now? Is the loan valid? Yes, loan is valid because it is not D's work to get into the company's operations and see whether the three directors have signed or not. He knows three should sign. So he is presuming three have signed. Therefore, he can take defense under doctrine of indoor management, saying it is not my issue, it is your issue, it is your fault. However, if D knows, D has the knowledge that three has to sign, but only two sign, but he kept quiet. Then what happens? He cannot take the benefit of doctrine of indoor management. Exception to doctrine of indoor management. First exception, where the party has knowledge of irregularity, then he cannot take the benefit of doctrine of indoor management. Understood, guys? I basically explained three questions with this example. Similar question can come in an exam, may not come also, but important for your exam. Understood, guys? Any doubts still here? Yes, Gaurav, which part do you want me to repeat? Yeah, third one, sure. Now, third part, let's assume three directors have to sign. D knows about this. However, only two directors sign, and D has the knowledge of this, meaning D knew that only two signed where three are supposed to sign, but he still took the loan. Now company is saying loan is not valid because two directors signed instead of three. Now D cannot argue saying doctrine of indoor management because D knew about this knowledge of irregularity. What is the irregularity? The irregularity here is instead of three signing, two signed it. D knew about this. Since he has knowledge about irregularity, he cannot take the benefit under doctrine of doctrine of indoor management. Understood, guys? Another important point, doctrine of constructive notice is equal to exceptions given in doctrine of indoor management. Why? Doctrine of indoor constructive notice is a defense for whom? Defense for company against third party. Correct? Same way, exceptions for doctrine of indoor management, knowledge of irregularity, suspicion and forgery, that is also defense for company against the third party. Therefore, both doctrine of constructive notice is equal to the three exceptions in doctrine of indoor management. Understood, guys? This is very important. Some people don't get it. They think doctrine of constructive notice is different from exceptions. Conceptually, both are same because conclusion in both is what? Conclusion in both is company has defense against third party, either in doctrine of constructive notice or exceptions to indoor management. What is different is doctrine of indoor management. Have you all understood, guys? So with this, we are done with Companies Act. Now I'll take up doubts for another 5 minutes. I have another class at 6 p.m. guys. So I will take doubts until 5:55 p.m. I have another class at 6 p.m. So I'll take doubts until 5:55. After that, if you have doubts, absolutely no issue. I'll take in the next class. Okay. So first is Anu raised her hand. After Anu, I'll go to next doubt. Anu, yes, go ahead with the doubt, Anu.
Sir,
Yeah. Yes, Anu.
sir, can you explain the difference between PFI and government company, sir?
Public financial institution and government company, is it? See, public financial institution.
Government company, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. Public financial institution includes the government company. Definition is almost same. Only thing is, public financial institution includes government company, plus they have additionally in scope those institutions which are enacted by special act of parliament. Special act of parliament. For example, life insurance corporation is enacted by LIC act, separate act for LIC. LIC is a public financial institution, but it is not a government company. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Any other doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, next doubt. I'll just see 1 second. Darshita has a doubt. I'll unmute Darshita, then I'll take other doubts also. In chat, is there anybody? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Darshita. Go ahead, Darshita.
So recently you said the exceptions for doctrine of indoor management. So can you please repeat that again?
Which one?
So you recently mentioned the exceptions to doctrine of indoor management. So can
Yeah.
you please repeat those again?
Yeah, exceptions to doctrine of indoor management. Let me explain that. See, what is doctrine of indoor management saying is, see, very simple. Company has to do certain admin work. So company has to do certain admin work. Now, for example, let's say you have joined interclass in any academy. Let's say you have joined CA interclass in any academy. You paid fees of rupees, let's say 3,000 rupees for one subject. You transfer the money. Along with you, let's say 70 different students also paid fees. But what the academy did, by mistake, 69 students they registered and they sent class link to everybody. For you alone, they somehow missed out. And they did not send the link to you. Whose fault is this? Company's fault. Sorry, academy's fault, because their internal administrative work they have not done properly. Now, as a student, do you have the powers or authority to go to the academy and check if they have actually entered your name in the system registration list? You will assume that since you have paid fees, they have done their work. Just because they have not done their work, they cannot say, no, we are not fault, it's your fault. Correct? So if they have not registered you, who gets the defense? Student gets the defense. He should get at least recorded lectures for those classes, or he should get refund. Same way, what doctrine of indoor management is saying is, where the articles of association of a company provides that company has to do certain work, certain resolutions where they have to pass board resolution or any resolution. Me as an outsider dealing with the company, I will presume that, presume means I'll assume that all those resolutions are passed on time. All those resolutions are passed on time. However, if such resolution is not passed, whose fault is it? Is it my fault or company's fault? Obviously company's fault, because I knew they have to pass, but I cannot go and sit in the company's office and check if they have passed. I will assume that they have passed it. But this rule has some exceptions. What are those exceptions? First exception is knowledge of the irregularity. Knowledge of irregularity, meaning company. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. So the one that you mentioned, doctrine of constructive notice, is the exception to doctrine of indoor management.
No. I'll explain. See, very simple. It's very simple chart. Doctrine of constructive notice is there. Exception to doctrine of constructive notice is doctrine of indoor management. Okay. So there is doctrine of doctrine of constructive notice. Exception to doctrine of constructive notice is doctrine of indoor management. Exception to doctrine of indoor management, there are 3 exceptions. So exception for doctrine of constructive notice is doctrine of indoor management. Exception to exception is 3 exceptions. So this will go back to doctrine of constructive notice. Understood?
Yes, sir. Also, sir, I had a doubt in the first question.
One second, I'll just finish off this. In these 3 cases, knowledge of irregularity, or if you have a suspicion of irregularity, you have a doubt that they have not done their work, or in third case, in case of forgery, in all 3 cases, you cannot take the benefit of doctrine of indoor management. Company will have a defense against you.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I'll just see if anybody else has a doubt. Guys, if you have doubts, you can feel free to ask me. Otherwise,
So I have a doubt in first question.
yeah. What's the doubt? Yes.
Second, yeah, it was 182 days in the last calendar year. So
Correct.
therefore, we can incorporate into OPC, right?
No, I'll explain here. See, Jan 19 to December 19. Let's say 2019 calendar year. Now, from 1st Jan to 31st December, the person has stayed in India for 182 days. But what we have to check from 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020. In this period, he has to stay for 182 days or more, correct? But he has stayed how much?
Yes, sir.
From Jan 19 to December 19. So this part is part of our scope. So here, if he's staying for 182 days or more, it's fine. But they have just mentioned in the question, from Jan to December, he has stayed for 182 days. For this period, he has stayed 182 days. So there is heavy possibility that in the first 3 months, Jan to March, even if he stayed for 2 days in India, then automatically this part will become 180, correct? Which is less than 182. Therefore, he cannot incorporate the OPC. Since they have not given exact date for months, we have to write he cannot incorporate, mainly because in the first 3 months, if he stays even for 2 days, then you cannot incorporate the one, not even 2 days. Even 1 day, if he stays in the first 3 months, then this will become 181, which is less than 182. Therefore, he cannot incorporate the OPC. However, if you give assumption that after 1st April, he is staying for 182 days in the same calendar year, then they can incorporate the OPC.
But sir, the amendment says that it should be financial year and not calendar year. So how
Correct.
can we assume?
So if you see here, financial year in this calendar year, out of the 12 months of calendar year, the last 9 months is part of financial year.
Yes, sir.
So it becomes part of your financial year.
Okay.
Out of the 12 months, 9 months, it becomes your financial year. The remaining 3 months belongs to next calendar year.
Okay. Yeah.
Got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So
so
I'm
that's
done
it.
with my doubt.
Yeah, so any other doubts, guys? I have another 2 minutes before my next class. Any other doubts? Okay, so let me give you agenda for next class. 1 second, guys, just stay on the class. So now for maths, since attendance is very low, what we have decided is there is one more class for calculus. Sir started calculus. He will finish calculus. Then ICAI has released practice questions. ICAI has released practice questions. Plus, they are going to release mock test paper soon. They are going to release mock test paper, which will be around 200 questions. I will keep a separate session for discussing of these 200 questions, and also one session for taking up important questions in logical reasoning. This is what we are going to do for maths. So maximum another 2 to 3 classes, we will close maths also. So we will not have any law class on Saturday and Sunday. No law class on Saturday or Sunday. Your next law class will be on Monday only on Monday. On Monday, we will either take up Sale of Goods Act or LLP. No class on Saturday or Sunday because we will be having maths class. I don't want to burden you with both the classes. Clear, guys? So this is the update I wanted to give. That's it for the class today. Thank you, guys. We'll meet for law class on Monday, but weekend you have maths class. Thank you, guys.